So hello everybody, now we're going to study chapter 14, Managing Communications. So this is group 4 table contained. Let's answer your questions. What is communication? Communication is the transfer and understanding of meaning. Transfer means the message will receive in a form that can be interpreted by the receiver. More importantly, communications also involve understanding the message. Seen is not at the same as the receiver agreeing with the message. And the final point I would like to make for you guys about communications is encompass both interpersonal communication, which is happening between two or more people, with organizational communications, or the partner network and system of communication within an organization. So these two types of communication is quite important for managers to understand. Next, we have functions of communications. There are 4 different types of functions of communications. First is control. Formal or informal communications act to control individual behavior in organizations. For example, if when a group work tease a member who ignoring the norm by working too hard, they are informally controlling the member behavior. Second, communication also act to clarify for employee what is to be done, how well they have done it, and what can be done to improve performance. The third one is emotional impression. Social interactions in the form of work group communication provide a way for employees to express themselves. Last is information, which help individual and work group to make decisions or to do their work. Next is method of interpersonal communication. So before communication can take place, message must be conveyed. So it passes between a source, which are a sender or receiver. The message is converted to a message is converting to a symbol form, which is called encoding. Then to the medium channel to receiver, who retranslating our sender message called decoding. Next we have communication process. The 7 elements involved in transferring meaning from one to another. Noise and any disturbance that interfere with the transmissions or receive or feedback of a message. The exhibit 14.1 will illustrate the element of interpersonal communication process. Next, we got non-verbal communications. As important part of interpersonal communication is non-verbal communication. So non-verbal communication is communication transmitted without words. So in non-verbal communication, we got 2 types of non-verbal communication, which is body language, gesture, facial configurations, and other body movement that convey meaning. Second is verbal intonation, an emphasis given to word or phrase that convey meaning. And the exhibit for 14.2 will compare different types of communication method. Here, this. So, furthermore, let's take a look at barrier to communications. So, first is filtering the deliberate manipulation combinations of information to make it appear more favorable to receiver. For example, if when a person talk to his or her managers, what that managers want to hear, that information is being filtered. Next is information overload occur when information exceeds or processing capacity. Last is in an organization, employees come from diverse backgrounds and have different pattern of speech. It's called jargon. Last is how to overcome the barriers. There are three ways. You feedback, ask questions about message to determine whether it was received or understood at intent. Simplify language. Consider the audience to whom the message is direct and tailor of the language to them. Last is active listening for full meaning without making premature judgment or interpretation. So thank you for listening.
Hi everyone, so today I want to present to you the rest 3 parts of the chapter 14. The first part is organizational communication. First, I want to make a small comparison between formal and informal communication. Formal communication is communication that takes place within prescribed organizational work arrangements, and informal communication is not defined by the organizational structural hierarchy. Next, there are 5 directions of communication. The first direction is town hall meeting. Town hall meeting is informal public meetings where information can be relayed, issues can be discussed, or employees can be brought together to celebrate accomplishments. Next, downward communication is communication that flows downward from a manager to employees. Lateral communication is communication that takes place among any employees on the same organizational level. Diagonal communication is communication that cuts across work areas and organizational levels. And the last direction is upward communication. Upward communication is communication that flows upward from employees to managers. Next, I want to present to you the organizational communication network. There are the variety of patterns of vertical and horizontal flows of organizational communication. It is a big mistake when you mention organizational communication networks without referring to REFI. REFI is the informal organizational communication network. As you can see on the slide, it is the exhibit 14.4. There are 3 kinds of networks of communication: chain network, wheel network, and all channel network. Those 3 kinds of networks are different in 4 criteria: speed, accuracy, emergence of leader, and member satisfaction. Let's move on to workplace design and communication. Workplace design play a very big role in the performance of the employees. A good workplace design can boost the efficiency and effectivity of the employees. As you can see on the slide, it is the open workplace. Open workplace are workplaces with very few physical barriers and enclosures. As a result, the employees in such a workplace can very easily communicate with each other. Next part is information technology and communication. Have you asked yourself the question how technology affects managerial communication? The first method is networked system. Network system is a system that an organization's computers are linked. All organizational members can communicate with each other and tap into information whether they are down the hall, across the town, or halfway across the world. And the second method is wireless capabilities. It is a wireless communication technology that has the ability to improve work for managers and employees. And the last part of this chapter I want to present to you is the communication issues in today's organizations. First, managing communication in an internet world is very important. Besides, it causes a large amount of issues. The first kind of issue is legal and security issues. It is inappropriate use of company email and instant messaging, or loss of confidential and proprietary information due to inadvertent or deliberate dissemination or to hackers. The second issue is lack of personal interaction. Because being connected is not the same as face-to-face contact. There are some difficulties in achieving understanding and collaboration in virtual environments. The last is communication and customer service. Employees in any corporation or company have to communicate with customer in a very effectively way. First, you need to recognize the three components of the customer service delivery process: the customer, the service organization, and the service provider. And we need to develop a strong service culture focused on the personalization of service to each customer. We need to listen and respond to the customer and provide access to needed service information. Next, in today's challenging environment, it is not sensible for companies to ignore suggestions from their employees. As a result, as you can see on the slide, it is a sample of the suggestion box which receives and contains the suggestion letters from the employees. As you see, it is the exhibit 14.5. How to let people know the input matters. The first is town hall meetings. It is where information is shared and input is solicited. The next, we need to provide information about what's going on, no matter if it's good or bad. We need to invest in training so that employees see how they can impact the customer experience. Next, we should analyze problems together. The last is we need to make it easy for employees to give input by setting up different ways for them to do so, by the way of online or suggestion box, pre-printed cards, and so on. The last is communicating in an ethical way. Ethical communication includes all relevant information, is true in every sense, and is not deceptive in any way. All organizational communication needs to be up to ethical standards. So, thanks for your attention.
Hello, it's me again. Today we talk about the case application 1 of chapter 14 about the email ban. To the version number 1, what do you think of this? Do you agree that email can be unproductive in the workplace? Well, let me check my email. Not necessary. Well, from my point of view, I think that email is productive because it can keep you up to date if your partners want to send you something important or reminding you of something urgent that you have to do or about your interview or something like that. Question number 2. Were surprised at the volume of email an average employee receives daily? Well, I wasn't so surprised because most of those emails are spamming emails, and because since they are businessmen, so they must have a lot of spamming emails. Very few of them hold the important keys, and because of the spamming, people wasting time filtering it. The large amount can cause confusing, and it can draw up and like from 100 email per day to like 1,000 per day maybe. My average email do increase because since I have to expose my email to many domains when I have to register because like that. What do you think of the email replacement in some business or using more social media tool? Well, I think that the replacement is better from the information part because it is transparent. You can catch the idea of it, and it's good to have people to save time, not to filtering those spamming. But on the other hand, considering the security level and method, I think that email is still the better since Gmail, Google, what are the biggest security company? Yes, I think that business now they use Zalo in Vietnam the most and Facebook like that. They have type private groups. What can I see for the managers and communication from this story? I think it is there are no teamwork and they are lacking in social life, and the workers has a lack in their communication skill, so they have to ban it just to meet each other. Thank you.
Now we move to the case application 2, neutralizing the Concordia effect. I will summarize the case.
Costa Cruise is an Italian cruise company owned by Carnival Corporation. In January 2012, the Costa Concordia killed over off Italian coast near the island of Giglio in Italy. A few weeks later, the Costa Allegro was hit by fire and drift in the Indian Ocean. Later, the Costa Cruise decided to launch an exceptional communication campaign to defend the company's reputation and market share in global cruise market. The first question, beyond possible human error and tragedy responsibilities, what do you think of this situation from the perspective of managing communications?
I think the lack of control over disclosure and distorted information coming from other media caused a great damage to the company's reputation in the global cruise.
Question 2. Why do you think the company's executives decided to silence communication on social media? Was this an appropriate strategy?
Because social media is now widely used all over the world, and people can get information from social media quicker than other media. Costa Cruise needs time to investigate all the situation inside and outside its company, so it can propose the appropriate strategy to defend its reputation as well as market share in the global cruise market. And yes, this was an appropriate strategy because in the end of the case, they said that there were an increase in the number of bookings.
The last question, the increase in the number of bookings seems to corroborate the success of the latter communication strategy discussed The communication management implications.
The company's executives had done a great job in managing communication plan.
So now we move to chapter 15, understanding and managing individual behavior. The first part is focus and goals of organizational behavior.
Behavior is the actions of people. Organizational behavior is the action of people at work. Organizational behavior focuses on three major areas. First, organizational behavior looks at individual behavior. This area includes such topics as attitudes, personality, perception, learning, and motivation. Second, organizational behavior is concerned with group behavior, which includes norms, roles, team building, leadership, and conflict. Finally, organizational behavior also looks at organizational aspects, including structure, culture, human resource policies, and practice. One of the challenges in understanding organizational behavior is that it addresses issues that aren't obvious. Like an iceberg, organizational behavior has a small visual dimension and a much larger hidden portion. The goals of organizational behavior are to explain, predict, and influence behavior. Managers need to be able to explain why employees engage in some behaviors rather than others, predict how employees will respond to various actions and decisions, and influence how employees behave. There are 6 employee behaviors. Employee productivity is a performance matter of both efficiency and effectiveness. Managers want to know what factors will influence the efficiency and effectiveness of employees. Absenteeism is a failure to show up for work. It's difficult for work to get done if employees don't show up. Turnover is the voluntary and involuntary permanent withdrawal from an organization. It can be a problem because of increased recruiting, selection, and training costs and work disruptions. Organizational citizenship behavior is discretionary behavior that's not part of an employee's formal job requirements but promotes the effective functioning of the organization. Job satisfaction refers to an employee's general attitude toward his or her job. Workplace misbehavior is any intentional employee behavior that is potentially harmful to the organization or individuals within the organization. It shows up in 4 ways: deviance, aggression, antisocial behavior, and violence.
The second part is attitudes and job performance.
Attitudes is evaluative statements, either favorable or unfavorable, concerning objects, people, or events. An attitude is made up of 3 components: cognition, affect, and behavior. Cognitive component is that part of an attitude that's made up of the belief, opinions, knowledge, or information held by a person. Behavioral component is that part of an attitude that refers to an intention to behave in a certain way towards someone or something. Affective component is that part of an attitude that the emotional or feeling part. Job satisfaction. A person with a high level of job satisfaction has a positive attitude toward his or her job. In contrast, a person who is dissatisfied has a negative attitude. Job satisfaction is linked to productivity, absenteeism, turnover, customer satisfaction, OCB, and workplace misbehavior. Now we move to job involvement and organizational commitment. Job involvement is the degree to which an employee identifies with his or her job, actively participates in it, and considers his or her job performance to be important to self-worth. Organizational commitment is the degree to which an employee identifies with a particular organization and its goals and wishes to maintain membership in that organization. Perceived organizational support is an employee's general belief that their organization values their contribution and cares about their well-being. Managers want their employees to be connected to, satisfied with, or enthusiastic about their jobs. This concept is known as employee engagement. Highly engaged employees are passionate about and deeply connected to their work. Disengaged employees have essentially checked out and don't care. They show up for work but have no energy or passion for it. Cognitive dissonance theory sought to explain the relationship between attitudes and behavior. Cognitive dissonance is any incompatibility or inconsistency between attitudes or between behavior and attitudes. The theory argued that inconsistency is uncomfortable and that individuals will try to reduce the discomfort and thus the dissonance. Many organizations regularly survey their employees about their attitudes. Attitude surveys present the employee with a set of statements or questions eliciting how they feel about their jobs, work group, supervisor, or the organization. The third part is personality. An individual's personality is a unique combination of emotional, thought, and behavioral patterns that affect how a person reacts to situations and interacts with others. It's a natural way of doing things and relating to others. One popular approach to classifying personality traits is the personality assessment instrument known as the MBTI. This 100-question assessment asks people how they usually act or feel in different situations. On the basis of their answers, individuals are classified as exhibiting a reference in 4 categories: extroversion or introversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, and judging or perceiving. As you can see from the descriptions, each personality type would approach work and relationships differently. Neither one better than the other, just different. In recent years, research has shown that 5 basic personality dimensions underlie all others and encompass most of the significant variation in human personality. The 5 personality traits in Big 5 model are extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, emotional stability, openness to experience. Next is additional personality insights. Locus of control is the degree to which people believe they are master of their own fate. Materialism is a matter of the degree to which people are pragmatic, maintain emotional distance, and believe that ends justify means. Self-esteem is an individual's degree of like or dislike for him, herself. Self-monitoring, a personality trait that matters the ability to adjust behavior to external situational factors. Other personality traits are proactive personality, a trait belonging to people who identify opportunities, show initiative, take action, and persevere until meaningful change occurs. And resilience, an individual's ability to overcome challenges and turn them into opportunities. Emotions are intense feelings that are directed at someone or something. Emotions are reactions to an object. One area of emotions research with interesting insights into personality is emotional intelligence, the ability to notice and to manage emotional cues and information. Emotional intelligence is composed of 5 dimensions: self-awareness, self-management, self-motivation, empathy, and social skill. Exhibit 15.4 shows Holland's personality short fit.
Hello everyone, so today I will talk about the perception. Well, perception is like, it is the act of understanding something from your point of view is how you see and how you sense everything. There are three factors that can affect your perception: is the perceiver, the target, and the situation. About the attribution theory, is the theory that is like a theory that suppose that you try to understand the behaviors of the others, like why he's doing that, why am I talking in front of the camera like this, something just like that. This in these pictures is like people can only see that you are bored with your job, but actually you are in love with the job. You love to do it. About the fundamental, there are two elements in the attribution theories are the fundamental attribution error and the self-serving bias. This is a bit showing the levels of the attribution theory. Okay, so we come to the shortcut when people use to judging others. Assume similarity is mean when you become it's like judging others like everyone else. And about the stereotyping is just judging one guy from a group and seeing them just at the whole group. I think so. And the halo effect is mean like, you ever heard of don't judge a book by the way it looks like? The halo effect is kind of like that. People can only see the outside of it, but they cannot see. People can only see the surface of the iceberg, but they cannot see the rest of it. It's like that. And learning is mean the experience you get through time. There are two theories of learning: is operant conditioning and social learning. Now we come to the operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a learning process through which the strength of our behavior is modified by reinforcement or punishment. It's a procedure that is used to bring about such learning. Yeah, it's like when you raise your dog how to stand and how to sit, and you reward him after that. It's like that. To the social learning is a theory of learning process and social behavior. It is like when you observe and you try to understand the situation. It means social learning theory. It means you can improve through observation. Therefore, process: attentional process, retention, motor reproduction, and reinforcement. Shaping a managerial tool. This is the process of getting engaged the step using the reinforcement or lack of reinforcement. There's for factors of the behavior: positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment, and extinction. To the contemporary issues in organizational behavior. Well, it's like you manage the generational differences in the organizationals, like your workplace have old workers and young workers, like that. And most of them, and the majors of the part is the Gen Y, are the individuals that born after 1987. Here's the pictures of many generations: baby boomers, Generation X, Y, Z, so like that. So the class part, how to manage negative behavior in the workplace. Simply, you just need to instantly react to that unacceptable negative behavior, and you make them not to do it again. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So as you can see on the slide, it is the logo of SAS Institute. SAS Institute is an American multinational developer of analytics software based in Cary, North Carolina. SAS develops and markets a suite of analytics software which helps access, manage, analyze, and report on data to aid in decision making. So today I want to present to you guys the case application number 1 of chapter 50, Workplace to Work. As usual, we have some discussion questions. Here is the first question. So, personally, I like the friendly nature of the company. I believe that how the employers are treating the employees are an extremely good fit. Many other employees wish to get the kind of treatment that employees of SAS Institute receive from their employers. I believe that this could work with other organizations, but it would solely depend on how much profit the company is able to bring in. All of the costs and fees that would go towards the employees have to be taken care of somehow. But what it would take to get something such as this is money and some other types of startup plan to get things to run steadily and orderly. The next question. Having a full understanding as to why CEO seem good, nice employees behave a certain way would give him an indication as to how to handle certain situations within his company. As a CEO, you want to be able to run a company as smoothly and steadily as possible, while still being able to accomplish certain tasks that would allow the company to move forward. Having a good relationship with his employees could help him understand how to handle certain situations. In terms of first-line company supervisors, it will have to set the rules which are applied to employers. It is extremely important to have those certain interactions as well as a complete understanding as to how to handle and lead things accordingly in your company. The third question. So, the benefits that are being provided to the SAS Institute's employees is what has contributed to the low turnover rate. The employees' needs are met and they are essentially put on a pedestal as long as the job is done correctly, and they bring success to the company. Therefore, how they are treated by the employers plays a very important role. Low turnovers are good for a company because it cuts back costs that would normally be spent on trying to replace or hire another employee. Hiring as well as firing someone is fairly expensive, especially at a much higher turnover rate. So let's move on to the last question. Looking back at the statements tell you a lot. It proves that it is best to take an interest in what your employees may want or even need to make their job more convenient. Everybody's behavioral pattern is different, so having a full understanding about how to handle and go about certain situations could definitely make a difference. For example, with SAS Institutes, their CEO took a high interest into trying to understand how his employees operated and how they wanted to be treated. By taking the time to fully understand his employees, he was able to implement a plan, and from there it took off and turned into something much greater. So, thank you.
So, hello everybody. Now we're going to take a look at case application 2, employee first, in chapter 15. So, about XCL Technologies. So XCL Technology Limited is an Indian multinational IT service company headquartered in Noida, Uttar Pradesh, India. Naya effort start with philosophy, employee first, customer second, developer are responding with innovative idea and creating a self-sustaining can-do culture. The financial result of the company are impressive. 35% in the growth in revenue per employee and a second leading 25% about annual growth rate through 2008 to 2010 recession. So let's start with the first questions. What is your impressions of an employee first culture? Would this work in other organizations? Why not? What would it take to make it work? So from my perspective, an employee first culture is that a company put an employee as its first priority and focus on employee satisfactions instead of how most companies put their customer first. They do this by paying them more, training them more, and hope that employee will perform better and make more money for the company. This may not work for every company or even for some employees. They might feel that the company doesn't care much about its customer. For other organizations, this may contradict the company vision and mission, but it can work if the organization is willing to change its competitive strategy. Next question is, how might an understanding of organization behavior help CEO Vinesh Nair leading his company be specific? And how about first line company supervisor again? Be specific. Mr. Naya has good idea about motivating his workforce. What he seems to ignore is that not all employees may share his personality and attitude to work. This may explain his personality and attitude. This may explain the higher turnover XCL has experienced. The trust pay implemented by XCL may demotivate some employees who actually like benefit from variable pay. While many of Mr. Naya's ideas may work well for top manager, but his idea may not filter down into the organization as well as his belief. First line manager fight different type of battle and deal with different type of employee than top managers. Employee at the bottom may value Mr. Naya's plans and enthusiasm as much as lower level employee. Last is, what aspect of personality do you see in the story about HCL? How have the personality trait of HCL employee contribute to make HCL what is it? So, Mr. Nair appeared to display a high level of self-esteem and an internal locus of control. As CEO, his personality and perception play a big part into the value and go to the company. By choosing an employee who shares similar personality type of the CEO, you would expect that to see employee embrace the company value and go more quickly and easily, are sensitive to change, are creative to generate new ideas and risk takers. So thank you for listening to my presentation.